All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the elders of Great Millstone who very well, very beautifully. Double salutations unto the Akim and her pushing his gospel and truth and sincerity. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord willing, fall upon your houses. And we back out here, another week, man, right, to prophesy, the downfall of America, aka Babylon the Great, known as in the scriptures, right, as the virgin daughter of Babylon, Babylon the Great, as well as to activate and to wake up the elect of the nation of Israel. And as you see, I don't have my my tripod, and even my little clip, from my little speaker thing, man, ultimately, went missing, but nonetheless, man, we back out here, man, and as we, for those that have been paying attention, those that have been watching, right, there's a lot of things that are going on as of right now, and as of late, where I had just seen yesterday that, which I have an article on it, but ultimately TikTok, basically just hired a small hat, that, was part of the IDF, at one point, man, now is ultimately the head of this new HATE speech division, right, which, right there, man, that's going to lead to, the famine of the word, right, as well as that persecution, man, because we understand that Esau, right, this word has been going out, man. Yahweh Shemel Shai is ultimately, risen up, the prophets, which are the 144,000 to go out here and preach this word, right? To preach and teach this truth, this gospel, right? And part of that gospel is the downfall, right, of, our enemy, right? Which, our enemy is, the Edomite, right? The biblical Edomite, which we know today, right, to be the self-proclaimed so-called white men, or white folks, right, men and women, the ones who are in power, as we read in Job 9 and 24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? Esau, Edom is, according to the scriptures, right, Malachi 1 and 4, the border of wickedness, man. These damn flies all over me, man, He is the border of wickedness and has done nothing but, push and exalt wickedness, right, within the world, man, and again, we're seeing, right, these men, these prophets, right, being risen up, right, to speak against this damn devil in his society and say this is something that, he ultimately does not, want, right, to be put out there. He doesn't want this truth to be put out there. And this is why, right, he's setting up, right, to basically come against the men of the Lord, man, which this is on the peoplesvoice.tv, and I'll just read the header, right? It says TikTok hires small hat army instructor to lead new HATE speech division to police American speech. So there's attack on free speech, man, right? Which we know that there has been an attack, on so-called free speech for years, right? Because again, Esau doesn't want the truth to be out there, right? He doesn't want, who he is to be revealed unto the world. But hey, really, it's too late, as we read in Luke 8 and 17. Let's go to that real quick. This is Luke 8 and 17. It says, "For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad." So we're in the time where Yahweh Shemel Shai is ultimately bringing all this information out, man, via the prophets, right? The prophets doing the, the digging and the research and whatnot, if you will, right, to basically find out all this information and to bring it out. This is what's going on right now, man. The man of perdition, the wicked, right, is being revealed at an all-time high. And so again, right, this is why Esau is basically setting up these new divisions and these new, because I think it was a couple of years back they were talking about hiring, or setting up or they did set up a new division, right, within YouTube, right, to basically set up different algorithms or to basically come at, those who, have that HATE speech or anti, speech or whatnot, coming at them. We've been seeing, right, since, since really the scamdemic, right, there's been an attack on the men of the Lord, right, pages being taken down, pages being struck, right, just based off of, the truth being pushed, right, because we understand that this damn devil has set up a society, right, built on lies, right? He's done nothing but deceive the world, as we read in the scriptures, man. You know, let's grab this in Psalms 10 and verse 7. It says, his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. So this is talking about, right, Esau, Edom, right, the wicked, right, the damn devil that the Bible speaks of, man, right? He's done nothing but lie to the people. He's lied to the masses, right, and saying that, hey, you know, just dealing with the scamdemic, right? He told the people that, hey, you know, you taking this is ultimately going to help with your immunity. It's going to help keep your family safe. It's going to help, you know, heal you, this and the third. When the people taking the icky vicky, right, that jab, it did what? Right, it did nothing but, you know, ultimately cause people to be even put in a worse state, right, a worse illness, right? It started killing people, right? You had people dropping, you know, young people, right, in 18, 20, you know, even 15, 16, right? They took the jab and they were dying, you know, on the football field, in the basketball court, you know, wherever, you know, because again, it was a venom. It wasn't necessarily a, you know, a medicine, you know, if you will, right? So this damn devil has lied to you people, man. He's done sat there and put all this different shit in the air and told you what it was. It's cloud seeding, you know, to ultimately make it to where there's clouds, especially out here in Arizona, right? They sit here and tell you it's cloud seeding, right? They sit there and make clouds so that way they can protect you from the rays of the sun. No, in reality, they're pushing they're pouring chemicals in the air, and the people have to breathe these things in, right? Which then it leads to what? Asthma, it leads to Alzheimer's, it leads to, you know, all these different diseases and whatnot, you know? And this damn devil knows he's doing that, right? So he's done nothing but lie to the people. He's lied to the masses and pushed this, you know, push out there as him being some kind of, you know, good person or this and the third. But see, the world is starting to understand that he's the devil, right? He's a liar. He's the deceiver, you know, and he's done nothing but do just that and push wickedness in the earth. And this is why he's ultimately going to be taken down, man, you know, because he is the wicked, right? And we're in the time where he's being revealed at an all-time high, and he can't run away from it. And this is why, again, right, why he's pushing, right, to ultimately set up these different, you know, laws and policies and legislation, right, to come against the men of the Lord, man. You know, this situation, I spoke about it yesterday when I did that lesson. You know, this situation very well could, you know, lead to the persecution, man, because what he's going to do is he's going to sit there and say, hey, you can't say this, you can't say this, you can't say that, you know. But the men of the Lord are going to continue to say those things, man, because it's the truth, right? We're going to continue to push the scriptures, and no matter what the scriptures say, strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee, man. So even if it comes to, you know, the position of us being, you know, our life being threatened, right, we're going to continue to speak this word, man, Lord will, all the way into the end, you know, no matter what this damn devil says that he's going to do, and we're going to trust and believe in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man. Right, and we understand that it is prophecy that, you know, some of us are going to have to be, you know, beheaded, you know, for pushing this truth, man. You know, as we read in Revelation, the 20th chapter, in the 4th verse, it says, and I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded, right, beheaded, meaning had their head cut off, right, for the witness of Yahushua and for the word of the Most High, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Yahushua 1,000 years. And that's talking about the first 1,000 years in the kingdom, man. You know, where we're going to have this damn devil, you know, in captivity, you know, because again, his system is not just going to, you know, he's not just going to, you know, lose, right, and just be brought down. No, he's going into captivity, man. You know, Esau, Edom is going into captivity, and that's because of all the wickedness that he has ultimately pushed in the earth. You know, it says, matter of fact, let me grab this in Sirach, the 10th chapter, and we're just, you know, ultimately flowing, right, whatever the Spirit gives me, right? This is Sirach 10 and verse 8. It says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches gotten by deceit. Again, there goes that word deceit again. Right, because again, he's done nothing but lie to the masses to push himself out to be this righteous person, or this person that, you know, has done nothing but good in the earth. But now you got all this documentation that you have these unlicensed or what do you want to call them? Unlicensed doctors or nurses that have been over there in Africa, right? Just like this lady, she went over there and killed 800, you know, African children, you know. and deceive them to, you know, to make them believe that she was some kind of doctor or she can help them, but she was killing them, right, in droves, right? 800 you know, so-called, you know, African children, you know, were ultimately put to death at this lady's hands, you know. But yet again, they thought that she was some kind of, you know, some kind of doctor or somebody that was going to help, but in reality, right, all she was doing was killing them, because that's how these devils are, man. You know, that's how these devils are. They were bred that way, man. Scriptures talk about, right, as soon as they being born, they come out what? Speaking lies. You know, you can't trust these damn devils. That's why it says in Sirach, you know, 12 and 10, never trust thine enemy, right? Esau, Edom, right, the self-proclaimed so-called white man, right, is the enemy of the Israelites, right, which are the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans today, right, as well as you got Israelite foreigners, man. You know, that's who our enemy is, man. You know, and he's done nothing but lie, man. See, but all that is going to catch up to him. All the lies and deception, you know, and the wickedness is ultimately going to catch up to him in the form of him being judged by Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, him being rooted out of power, right, which we're seeing right now, right? We're seeing this damn devil ultimately being taken out of power, right? He's you know, you got a whole bunch of infighting, right, that's happening right now, right? As you read in Matthew 12 and 25, it tells you what, man, right? If a kingdom, you know, be divided against itself, it shall not stand. And he's coming down hard, right? You got nations that are sitting there saying, nah, we ain't dealing with y'all. You know, Saudi Arabia didn't want to, you know, ultimately renew that 50-year oil deal, right? They do the trade, right, in oil in the American dollar. They're not doing that shit no more. You got a whole bunch of different countries that are sitting there saying, you know what, we're not going to deal in the American dollar anymore. You got BRICS, right, that was set up a few years back, right, which is a conglomerate of nations, right, basically like the Eastern version of NATO, right, well, without America, you know, and without a lot of America's allies. All these different nations that are part of BRICS, you know, at one point, right, we're doing business with America and in the American dollar, but now they're saying, nah, we ain't doing that no more, man, right? Pushing America out, pushing, right, Esau out, you know, the American Edomite out, right? It says, I'll go back to it, Sirach 10 and 8, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom of the Most High, it's like the kingdom is translated from one people to another. So again, as we see all this happening and all these different prophecies coming to pass, right, uproars of the people, earthquakes, pestilence, wars, rumors of wars, and these are all signs of Esau's rulership going down, right? Him being revealed at an all-time high. This is all indication, right, of his rulership being, you know, coming to an end, right? Because as we read in Job 14 and 5, matter of fact, let's grab that. It tells you, right, it says, seeing his days are determined, right, the number of his months are with thee, thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. So Esau has hit that wall, right? He's hit that wall. The prophets, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, sent out his prophets, right, to prophesy his downfall, to prophesy his removal, right, from power. And he sees all that, right? And this is why it says in Revelation 12 and 12, he knowing that he hath but a short time, right? He's going to come down having great wrath because he knows he hath but a short time. And this is why he's setting up, right, the different legislation, right, which again is ultimately going to allow for him to do what? To come after the men of the Lord, you know, to persecute the men of the Lord, to apprehend the men of the Lord, right? But no matter what he does, and he's still getting taken out of power. Yes, again, we just read that there are going to be some, you know, prophets, right, and believers, right, that are ultimately going to be beheaded, right, for this truth. But see, that's a great honor, right? Psalms 106 chapter tells you that precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints, you know? So that's a high honor, right, to ultimately die for the name of the Lord, man. You know, Sirach 4 and 28, strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee. You know, the Lord's going to fight for us, man. You know, he's going to fight for us all the way into the end. And see, at the end, right, Lord, will we be of that number, man? We're going to be glorified and we're going to be put on top, right? Because as we just read, right, the kingdom is being translated from one people to another. You know, the Lord is taking it away from Esau, Edom, and he's giving it to you, to the Israelites, man, right? Starting with the 144,000, which is going to be the governing body, right, of the kingdom to come. You know, starting with Yahweh Shai, the 144,000, the rest of the elect. You know, that's what's coming, right? Esau is going to be taken down, man, right? And it starts when Yahweh Shai comes and cracks the sky and takes his damn devil out, right? Let's grab this in 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 24, right? It says, then cometh the end, right? The end of what? The end of Esau's rulership, right? You read that in, what is that, 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter, right? The 7th to the 9th verse. It tells you what? So Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow it. So Esau hit his end, right? When at Esau's end, hey, that's our beginning, right? It says, then cometh the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to the Most High, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and all authority and power. And then who's in power? Who has authority? Who's in rulership? Right? Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed so-called white man. We read that again in Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? And he's done nothing but, again, and we're going to continue to say, we're going to sound like a broken record, man, right? But we don't care, right? We're going to continue to push that information out, push the truth out, push the gospel out, because it's all about the truth at the end of the day, right? The truth of the scriptures, the truth of the Bible, right? That's what matters, right? All this shit that we see out here, that shit don't matter, man. You know, none of that shit matters. What matters is this nigga, right? Because he's truly the nigga, right? He's truly the fucking black man, right? Black being, you know, synonymous, right, with wicked and evil, right? He's truly that black man, you know. He's pushed that moniker on the Israelites, but really the southern tribes, you know, of the Israelites. But he's the true black man. You know, he's the true wicked. He's the true black man. And see, again, the Lord is going to, you know, is going to recompense him for all his ways, for all the wickedness that he has done. Hey, the Lord's going to get his ass, man. You know, and again, it starts, it's starting right now, right? The Lord is bringing him down, but that ultimate punishment is going to start when Yahawashi comes and take him out of rulership, take him out of power. Because then what's going to happen immediately after that, right? He's going to go into captivity, you know? Let's grab this real quick. Revelations 13 and verse 10, it says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Now the saints, when you go to Psalms, the 148th chapter, around the 14th, 15th verse, it tells you that the saints are the, you know, of the children of Israel, right? So this is, we're waiting. We're patiently waiting, right? And we have faith that Yahweh Bashem El Shai is going to recompense this devil for his wickedness. Right, as it says in Obadiah, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, man. You know, Esau at one point, man, you know, like we see right now, right, he still has power. He's still on top. He's still, you know, living and faring sumptuously. You know, he's got the best of the best here, man. Right, but soon that's going to come to an end. Right, soon he's going to be on bottom. You know, and we're going to be on top. He's going to be in captivity, right? He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. It's going to start with you nobles, right? You elites, the ones that are really pulling the strings behind the scenes, man. Right? This is Psalms 149, and it says, it's like it's warm. It says Psalms 149 and verse 5. It says, "Let the saints." There's that word "saints" again. Right? We'll jump over to Psalms 148 and verse 14. It says, "He also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel, a people near unto him, praise ye Yahweh." So again, right, when it's talking about the saints, it's talking about the Israelites, you know. But let's read it again. Psalms 149 and verse 5. "Let the saints, or the Israelites, right, be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their bed. Let the high praises of the Most High be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people." And see, that's what's coming to you heathens, man. Not just to Esau, Edom, right, but to all the nations, right? When you read in Psalms the 83rd chapter, you know, all the nations at one point, right, were confederate against, you know, Israel, right? Starting with the Edomites, the Ishmaelites, right, the Hamites, the Moabites, you know, all the way down, man, the Elamites, all the nations, right, at one point were confederate, you know, and still are, right, confederate against the Israelites, man. You know, it's just the number one nation is the Edomites, man. They're going to get it the worst, but all the heathen are going to get it, man. All the heathen. It's not just you Edomites, man, right? Not just you small hats, right? You Rockefellers, Rothschilds, you know, DuPonts, Gettys, Oppenheimer. Y'all all going to get it. All the heathens are going to get it, man. You know, it says, "Let the high praises of the Most High," it's like in verse 7, it says, "to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron," man. You getting put in chains, man. You getting put in captivity, you know, because see, that's your recompense, right, for your wickedness, you know. Yeah, and you know, if the Lord has a certain people that He chose and He loves and He's willing to do anything for, right, within righteousness, right, to deliver, right, to save, to protect, to destroy nations, right, for. What do you think He's going to do, right, for a nation He despises? You know, a nation that He hates. If He's willing to put us in captivity, a nation that He loves, right? The Israelites, under you damn devils, under the, as the scriptures say, right, the most hateful forsakers of the Most High. You reading prayer of Azariah, right? It's the 8th verse, right? It's only one chapter, the 8th verse. If the Lord's willing to put us under those people, what is he willing to do to those people that he despises? And we know the Lord is righteous. We know that the Lord is the Lord likes balance, right? A just weight is his delight, right? So just as we got punished for what we doing, right? You're going to get punished for what you've done, right? As it says in Zechariah 1:15, right? That you afforded the affliction, right? You Edomites, y'all did more than you were supposed to do, right? Y'all did some evil ass shit unto the Israelites, man. You sat here and you something called buck breaking, right? You sat here, you men, right? You men were sitting here taking the biggest slave that you have, right? Israelite slave that you have, and you were bending him over and popping him, in front of all the rest of the slaves, to try to, discourage them. This and that. That's some mo shit, man. That's against the scriptures, man. Right? Man shall not lay with mankind, right? And womankind shall not lay with womankind. So it's like, hey, you breaking the scriptures, man, and you're gonna get judged, right? According to the scriptures, according to everything that you did, contrary to the words of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Because you have the Bible, right? The Bible is the #1 produced book and bought book in your kingdom, and you're not following it, and you're not pushing it, right? And you're gonna get judged. Let me do this over. You're gonna get a judge according to that book, right? This book, the scriptures, right? But again, going back, right? Psalms 49 and verse 8, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints, praise ye Yahweh, right? And again, soon we're gonna take you damn devils, man. When Yahushai comes, right? We read in Matthew the 24th chapter that Yahushai is gonna command the angels to gather the elect from the four winds of the earth, right? And again, Lord, will we be a part of that number? And when we're being beamed up, our bodies are gonna get changed. Right, we're going to be completely different, right? Let's go to that in 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter, and the 50th verse. We'll start here and we'll read down. It says, now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of the Most High, neither corruption inherit incorruption. Right? So this body, which is corrupt, this is, we're in these bodies which are, subject unto sin. Right, so these bodies are corruptible, man. So we have to be changed, right, in order to be beamed up. We have to be changed in order to, to receive the kingdom. Which being in the chariots, that's part of the kingdom, right? Being, that's part of the glory of the Lord. That's part of, us being, on top. Is being able to be in those chariots, being able to be, and have rule, right, over the angels. Right, scriptures talk about, know ye not that ye shall judge angels. We're going to have command over the angels, man. That's all part of being in the kingdom, right? So in order for us to receive that, we have to be changed. We're in flesh subject to sin, so we got to shed this flesh, right? It says, verse 51, behold, I show you a mystery, right? Because it is a mystery, right? You tell people, in the average person, right? Which when you go into this word mystery, it goes back to the Greek word mysterion, which goes into, secrets that were only, revealed unto the initiated, right? Which we know are the elect, right? The elect of the nation of Israel. Not every Israelite is going to be able to understand this. You tell people, hey, man, we're going to have, we're going to have new bodies, this and the third. We're going to be, we're going to have spiritual power, this and the third. And the average person can't receive that, man. They'll be like, what? Bugging out, man, because you said that. Right, so the average person can't receive it, but the scriptures tell you that the natural man, cannot receive this truth. In 1 Corinthians, the first or second chapter, I think it's the second chapter, around the 12th verse, right? Verse 51, 1 Corinthians 15:51. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall be changed. Right? I want to go into that word changed. Let's see if I can grab it in the blue letter, but if not, I'll grab it in the online etymology, and it'll show you. Right, that this change is I mean, our bodies are going to be completely different, right? Strong's G, 236, alaso, It says to change, to exchange one thing for another, to transform, to make different. Right? We're going to be completely different, man. You know? But let's see what it says in the online etymology. To change. It says to alter, make different, change. It says to make something other than what it was, cause to turn or pass from one state to another. It says undergo alteration, become different. It says to take off clothes and put on other ones. Right? We're going to take off this mortal and put on immortality, which, as it says in the scriptures, man. Right? It says, verse 52, 1 Corinthians 15:52. It says, in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, right? For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall rise incorruptible, and we shall be changed, right? The dead are going to rise first, right? And then what? Those that live after them, man. You know, those who are alive and remain after them are going to be delivered up and changed, man. Lord will be of that number. That's going to be us, right? It says, for this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality, right? It says, so when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory, right? Because we're not going to die anymore, man. Right? As we read in Wisdom of Solomon, the 1st chapter, the 15th verse, it tells you what? Righteousness is immortality. So if we're ultimately going to shed these bodies which are subject to sin, which means we're going to be in bodies which are what? Subject to righteousness. Because the law, statutes, commandments are going to be written in our minds, man. Right? Our heart is going to be changed, man. We're going to go from a stony heart, right, to a fleshly heart, meaning a mind that's disobedient, to a mind that's obedient. Right? We'll never go off again, man. Right? So we're going to be, immortals. We're going to always be righteous, man. And which means we'll never die again. Because the wages of sin is death. Which is why we die now, because these bodies are subject to sin, which is why we constantly are dying 50, 60, 70 years old, man. And we're not living a full life, 100 years. We're not living that, man. Jake, man, is lucky to get past freaking 60, 55, 60, But it's because, Jake is constantly sinning. As Jake is constantly going contrary to the Lord in the scriptures, right? His words, But again, when we get changed, right, we're going to be in those immortal bodies, right? We're never going to die again, right? It says, verse 55, it says, O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. It says, but thanks be to the Most High, which giveth us the victory through our Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. So, right, we're going to be changed, man. Right? And when we're changed, we're going to be in those bodies. And guess what, man? And we're going to fuck you devils up, man. Because the Lord said what? In Ezekiel, right? Going back to Esau again, right? Ezekiel 25. And we'll start at verse 12. It says, thus saith the Lord power, because that Edom hath dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and hath greatly offended, and revenged himself upon them. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, I will also stretch out my hand upon them, upon Edom, and will cut off man and beast from it, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of the Don shall fall by the sword, right? The Lord is ultimately going to destroy this place, man, right? He's going to destroy America, level this fucking place, man, It says, verse 14, it says, and I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel. So not only is the Lord going to give us new bodies, right? Not only is the Lord going to allow us, right, to truly become immortal, the Lord's going to give us those powers, man. What do you say? I should give you power, right, to tread upon the, the serpents, Matter of fact, let's grab that. I shall give you power. Right here. It says, Luke 10:19, it says, behold, I give unto you power to tread upon serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy. And nothing shall by any means hurt you. Right? Nothing. Right? The scripture says that, no weapon formed against thee shall prosper. And hey, the Lord is going to make it to where we're not able to die. So Esau's going to come with his guns, and he's going to try to come with his weapons and this, that, and the third, but they're not going to be able to do anything against us, man. You know? They're not going to be able to fight against us, because we're going to have that superpower, man. Hey, King David, right, said Lord made his feet like hinds feet, man. Right? He's able to leap bounds and to jump and you know, got super speed, you know? All these superpowers that you read in the scriptures, these or that you see in these movies, they come from the scriptures, man. Esau got all those powers from the Bible, man. You know? It says, let me go back, right? Because again, we're gonna have that power, right? Verse 14 again, Ezekiel 25:14, it says, and I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel. We're gonna get you damn devils, man. Right? We're gonna be the ones putting y'all in captivity. Right? It says, and they shall do in Edom according to mine anger and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith the Lord power. So, hey, the Lord's going to have to put his spirit upon us, man. And Jake can get angry, man. Jake can get, very, wrathful, you know. But see, the wrath of the Lord is nothing to be compared to, man. You know? And the wrath of the Lord is far greater than what any man's wrath can have, you know, especially here. Right, the Lord's gonna have to put his wrath on us, right? Because, you know, Jake, man, we're a hospitable people, you know, we're a caring people, right? Naturally, you know, when we're not in this state, man, you know, we're, you know, even when you go back 20, 30 years, man, Jake is just a naturally, you know, hospitable people, a natural, you know, let you in the home and this and the third, man, you know. Years ago, man, I remember hearing about the hostility of, you know, Jake down south and whatnot, you know, but hey, the Lord's gonna change all that, man. We ain't gonna be that forgiving, you know, forgetful type of people that Esau wants us to be, man. Oh, just, you know, forget slavery, just forget this, forget that. No, man. And the Lord's gonna put his spirit upon us, and we're gonna exact every single last bit. Even there's things that we don't even know that this damn devil did to us, man. Right? You got a book called Delectable Negro, where these people were eating us as a punishment. As a freaking punishment, man. I seen a video not too long ago. It was basically and it was on I think TikTok. It was a video of a body that was cooked, and people were ripping the meat off of it. It was a body. You could see the shape of the it was a human body, right, with the ribs cracked open and everything. People were ripping the flesh and everything like that off of the body and eating that shit, man. It was a human being. You know, you got these you got something called celebrity meats, where they take the swab of a damn celebrity and they grow that meat in a lab and then people eat it. That's cannibalism. But see, that's what these damn devils do, man. You know? Which is another reason why they got to be taken out of fucking power. Because that's evil as shit. That's nasty as fuck, man. But see, these people do that shit. Like, these people like their fucking steak bloody. Like, you're fucking eating, like, what the hell? You damn near you should just fucking eat it when the motherfucker running past you. You know? Like a damn animal, man. You know? We don't do that shit, man. The scriptures tell you, right, not to, you know, not to eat the, you know, of the blood, right? The blood is the life, you know, roughly paraphrasing. That's in the law, you know. But see, this damn devil does that shit, man, right? And he gonna have to be taken out the way, man. And see, we're gonna get our hands on this damn devil, man. We're gonna be able to get our lick back. The scriptures talk about meditating terror, right? To meditate terror, like, hey, and brothers be thinking about this, man. Brothers be straight up sitting here and be like, you know what, this damn devil did this, that, and the third. And you know what we gonna do? Because the scriptures say that all thine exactors shall be righteous, right? Let's go to that real quick. Let's prove that point. In Isaiah the 60th chapter, in the 18th verse, it's like your 17th verse, right? And this is talking about, right, the Isaiah the 60th chapter is a beautiful chapter, right? It goes into what the kingdom is gonna be like for us. You know, matter of fact, I'll start up a little bit. I mean, the point is in verse 16, man, but all of this is fire. I'll start at verse 14, right? Isaiah 60 and verse 14, it says, the son also of them that afflicted thee shall come bending unto thee. So all these different heathens, right, that ultimately, you know, came up against the Israelites and put us in captivity and did us bad, and you're going to be in servitude to us. You know, starting with you Edomites, you're going to be our servants, man. Right? You can read that in Isaiah 14, the first and second verse. You know, that the Lord is finna set up a government over the rest of the different governments, the heathens and their government, you know, and they're gonna be what? Servitude to the Israelites, man. You know? It says they shall come bending unto thee, and all they that despise thee shall bow themselves down at the soles of thy feet, and they shall call thee the city of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, the Holy One, the Zion of the Holy One of Israel, right? Zion goes back to the Hebrew word Tazion, which means monument, right? We're going to be the standard. We're going to be the epitome of good, right? Of righteousness in the earth. You know, it says, whereas thou hast been forsaken and hated, so that no man went through thee, I will make thee an eternal excellency, a joy of many generations. It says, thou shalt also suck the milk of the Gentiles, and shalt suck the breast of kings, and thou shalt know that I, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, and thy Savior and thy Redeemer, the Mighty One of Jacob. Which means, you know, all these heathens are going to come, you know, and be tributary unto us, and they're going to be giving, you know, all their gold and their silver and everything like that unto us, the Israelites, right? The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, which are going to be exalted, right, over these heathens. For so long, we've been on bottom, right? But see, a lot of our people, they're okay with being on bottom. You start speaking about the so-called white man, they start getting all defensive and, oh no, him, no. But see, when have you ever had any kind of power? When have you had any kind of say over what you have to do? You got to wake up early as shit in the morning to go serve this damn devil. You know, you got to sit here and give all your taxes, all your money, right, to this damn devil, and you're okay with that shit, man. You like that shit, you know? Jake loved being under this damn white man. As soon as you start talking about the so-called white man, they start getting defensive, you know? Well, fuck you motherfuckers, man. Lord gonna kill y'all motherfuckers, man. You know? But it says, because again, right, we're gonna be put on top. Right? The Lord's gonna make us an eternal excellency, man. Better than all the rest of these damn nations out here, man. Right? Verse 17, and here's the point. It says, for brass I will bring gold, and for iron I will bring silver, and for wood brass, and for stones iron. I will also make thy officers peace, and thine exactors righteousness. Meaning everything that we do, right, to these heathens is going to be within righteousness. So going back to what I had quoted before, when the scriptures say to meditate terror, and all the things that we're meditating even now, right, and the things that we're going to be doing to them in the kingdom, is everything's going to be righteous, man. Right? So we want to turn you, like, we want to make you damn devils. You want to be the damn snake, and we're going to make your tongue literally like a fucking snake. We're going to turn your bodies into a freaking snake. Right? Your lower half is going to be like a snake, and you're going to be slithering on the ground. You know? And we're going to sit here and just, hey, man, we're going to wake up one day, man, and we're just going to be like, you know what? I want to beat the shit out of some damn Edomites. Hey, well, guess what? We're going to do it. And it's going to be righteous. Because you damn devils did it. Right, y'all want to sit here and wake up and have your dogs and you'll spray us with these big ass hoses, right? Knowing that shit is fucking powerful, and then turn around and have your dogs come after us. You know, when we didn't do anything, they had something called the laughing barrel, where the black man's not able to laugh in public. He had to put his head in a fucking barrel and laugh. That's the shit that we had to do, and that's what you damn devils are gonna have to fucking pay for. You know? Obadiah says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee. You know? So a so-called white man, right, is going to have to pay for everything that he did. You know? You're not just going to get away with that. Right? The Lord said in Nahum 1 and 3, he will not at all acquit the wicked. Not at all. Ever. So in what capacity do these people think that they're going to get away with the shit that they've done? They're not going to, man. The Lord is got their number, man, and soon he's gonna cash out, you know. And you damn devils are going into captivity, right? Y'all gonna be put on the bottom. Y'all gonna be starving. Y'all not gonna have no security over your life, you know. There was a spirit, man. Had an Edomite woman, or looked to be an Edomite woman, just come up and stand right here, literally right here, you know, was looking around, and then walking off, man. You know, get your fucking judgment and take off. You don't know why. You don't know why she's coming over here, man. Literally just coming, standing right here, not 10 feet away from me, looking around, like looking all confused, and then goes right back to the car. And the Lord had her come out here and receive that judgment. He had some Issacharites that were sitting right here. They were eating, you know, maybe 30, 40 feet away from me, right? Came as after I started, right? And then they just dipped off. They see the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai is bringing these people. These people don't even know why the fuck they came over here, man. You know, ain't nobody over here. You know, you got maybe, you know, a few hundred yards that way. You got some, you know, soccer players and whatnot, but they don't even know why they came right over here, man. You know? And well, through the Spirit, they came over here to get fucking judged, man. You know? Because most of these people out here, they're not going to accept this truth. They're not going to accept, you know, what's coming out the scriptures, man. You know? Right? This truth is, you know, Yahweh Shai, that stumbling block, man. This truth is a stumbling block unto most people out here, man. You know? But again, right, going back to the point, right? Everything that we do to these damn devils is going to be righteous, man. Everything. We're not going to do no wicked shit, man. We're not going to do no buck breaking. Everything that we do is going to be according to the law. We're not going to do no mo shit. We're not going to sit here and sleep with another, you know, that man. We're not going to separate him and his wife and then go sleep with his wife. No, that's still his wife. Right? That's what Esau did too, man. That's why you had a lot of chocolate. You have a lot of chocolate covered Edomites, right? Because they'll take our woman, right, and then sleep with our woman, right, and have an Edomite baby that looks like an Israelite, but it really, because again, the lineage is through your father. You are who your father is. So if your father's an Edomite, you're an Edomite. You know, and again, it's not about skin color, right? It's about, again, your lineage and who you are, right? Your spirit. Right? Because again, you got a lot of Israelites, not a lot, but you know, you do have Israelites out here, or they look like Israelites, but they're really Edomites, man. Right? Which goes back to the parable of the wheat and the tare. Right? That wheat being the Israelites, that tare being an Edomite, right? That looks like an Israelite, man. Because the wheat and the tare, you know, you can't necessarily tell the difference until they spring up, you know? Until they spring up, man. You know? But Esau, no matter what he looks like, is going to catch his judgment, man. Right? And this is what we're waiting for. Right? These damn devils are going into captivity, man. And they're going to fucking stay there. You know? For a whole 1,000 years. 1,000 years is Esau going to be judged. 1,000 years is Esau going to be in servitude, man. You know? Let's grab this, man. It's in Isaiah, I think it's 36 and 1. No, it's like Isaiah 33 and 1. It says, woe to thee that spoilest, and thou wast not spoiled, and dealt treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled, and when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. So you're going to get your recompense, man. You damn devils, man. We can't wait. No, you know, we obviously got to wait. You know, it's according to, you know, Yahweh Shem Shai's time and according to prophecy, you know. But that's, you know, ultimately an expression, man. We can't wait. We can't wait to put you damn devils into captivity, man. So y'all going, man. It's going to be far worse than you've ever fucking experienced anything in your entire life, man. You know? Just imagine that. Well, you got Israelites, they got spiritual power. See, our captivities, you know, scriptures say that nothing has been done unto any nation like it's been done unto Israel. But soon that terminology or that statement is going to be done away with. It's going to be no nation has been done like it's been done unto Esau by Israel. You know? Because imagine, right, we've been under the captivity of all these different heathens. Not one of them have ever had spiritual power. They're not ever going to have spiritual power. But see, Esau and the rest of you heathens are going to be put under a nation that's got spiritual power. Scriptures talk about which one of you can add 1 cubit to your stature. We're going to be able to do that. I want my beard to be long today. I'm going to make my beard long. I want my beard to be, you know, the same size it is now. I'll make my beard that same size. And I want, you know, I want to be taller today. I could be taller. You know, now ultimately the Lord is going to make us, right, however he, you know, originally created us to be, you know, but we're going to have the ability to do that. Right? I want my woman, you know what I mean? She looking good. I want her to have a bigger booty today. You know, I'm going to be able to make her butt bigger. You know, and I'm just throwing some out there, spitballing, you know. Not that we're going to, you know, actually do that, but we're going to have the power and be able to do those things, you know. Just throwing those out there as an example. We're going to have the power to do those things, right? The scriptures say, you know, that our body is going to be likened and fashioned unto Yahweh Shai's body, right? Yahweh Shai is going to have that what? That celestial body, right? Isaiah the 47th chapter, he said, I shall not meet thee as a man, meaning he's not going to meet us in flesh. He's going to meet us in that celestial body. He's still going to look like a man. He's still going to look like Yahweh Shai, but he's not going to have the flesh, right? This corruptible flesh. He's going to be incorruptible, you know, and we're going to be the same as well, you know. And we're going to be able to do some crazy shit to you fucking devil. We're going to be able to breathe in space, breathe underwater, you know. Hey, the brother Kaya, man, that brother, hey, whoever is his fucking slave, man, I don't feel bad for you, man. You know, I don't feel bad for you. That brother say he gonna have his kingdom being built underwater, and you're gonna have to build it underwater, and you bet not drown, you know. And you damn devils got a lot coming, man. The men of the Lord, man. Hey, the Lord's gonna put the spirit on us to, you know, because really we don't even, you know, we don't forgive you damn devils for what y'all did, man. There's no fucking way we can. You know, you be a fool to forgive these devils for all that shit that they did. Right? Esau trying to sit here and take away, you know, slavery, you know, and erase slavery, but it's like you can't stop that. You know, you can't take away the you know, the history. You know, you could take away the evidence that people see directly in their face, but that doesn't stop, you know, the truth. Right? That doesn't mean that you just erased, you know, everything that just happened. No, you're still going to have to be judged for all that, man. You know, we read that in the Psalms 109th chapter. You know, Psalms 109 and verse 14, it says, let the iniquity of his fathers be remembered with Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. So everything you did, the Lord remembers that, right? It says, and let not the sin of his mother be blotted out. Let them be before the Lord continually, that he may cut off the memory of them from the earth. Right, man? Because that's ultimately your end goal. Right? That's what the Lord has planned for you, right? You know, you're going to be, you know, put into captivity, right, for 1,000 years. And that 1,000 years is going to be the most excruciating, slow, drawn out days, weeks, months, and years of your entire existence. Right? And then immediately after that, what's going to happen, man? You're going to be put to death. As a nation, you're going to be eradicated from existence, man. You know? Yeah, let's continue on. Verse 16, it says, because that he remembered not to show mercy, right? But persecuted the poor and needy man, which are the Israelites, right? That he might even slay the broken in heart. So, hey, Esau, man, because you did that, because you want to continue to not show mercy, right? James 2 and 13. Let's grab that real quick. Right? It's James 2 and 13. It says, for he shall have judgment without mercy that have shown no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. So you're not gonna receive any mercy, man. You're not gonna receive any mercy. You're not gonna sit here and think that you're going to, you know, get some type of aid. Going back to the parable Lazarus and the rich man. Matter of fact, let's go to that. Let's go to, what is that, Luke? Is that Luke 18? No. Let me find it, man. Lazarus. Rich man. New Testament. Right here, Luke 16. And Luke 16, I'll start at verse 19. It says, and there was a certain rich man, which was clothed in purple and fine linen, and fared sumptuously every day. This is what Esau does every day today, man. Right? It says in what is that? Wisdom of Solomon, the first chapter, right? Wisdom of Solomon, the first chapter. Let's go to that real quick. Wisdom of Solomon 1. It says, it's like chapter 2. Yeah, right here. This is Wisdom of Solomon 2:6, it says, come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present. And this is the mindset of the heathen, right? When you go to the very top, right, it tells you that this is the mindset of the heathen, right? It says, come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth, right? It says, let us fill ourselves with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass by us. Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they be withered. Let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness. Let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place, for this is our portion and our lot is this. So these damn devils, they fare sumptuously. They get the best of everything, you know? And scriptures say that they're not in trouble as other men, right? Talking about Esau, Edom, right? Let's go to this. Luke 16 and verse 20, continuing on. It says, and there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate full of sores, and desired to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores, right? Which, you know, ultimately, you know, symbolic for these different nations, you know, ultimately coming over to us and using us, man, right? Stepping and trampling all over us, you know, and, you know, ultimately not helping us, man, you know. Verse 22, it says, and it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in hell, he lift up his eyes, being in torments, because that's what's coming to you damn devils. You're going to be in torment, right? The whole time that you're in captivity, right? Because hell is ultimately a position, right? It's something that's lived out, right? Because right now you could say, you know, Esau is in his heaven and we're in hell. You know, like when you go to work, man, and somebody, you know, it'd be a rough ass day. You know, you ask somebody, hey, man, hey, how was your day, man? Oh man, it was hell, man. It was hell. It was hell. You know. So that hell is going to be something that is going to be lived out, right? Something you're going to be dealing with, right, for that fucking 1,000 years, right? You're going to be in hell for 1,000 years, man. Not the literal fucking pagan Christianity hell, right? But you're going to be living in hell. This shit's going to be the worst situation you've ever experienced in your entire existence as a people, right? It says, and in hell he lift up his eyes, being in torments, and seeth Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. So he's saying, hey, I need some mercy, man. It's just too much for me to bear. You know, and this is where the response, right? It says, but Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime received thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. So we're going to be comforted, man. We're going to be put on top. We're going to be, you know, comforted by the Lord, being, you know, our bodies being changed, right? We're going to be, you know, in the kingdom, right? And you're going to be tormented. You're going to be put on bottom. You're going to be in hell, you know? It says, and beside all this, between us and you, there is a great gulf fixed. You know, and that was ultimately the point. Verse 25, I'll read again. It says, but Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receivest thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. Meaning, because right now we're constantly receiving bullshit at the hand of Esau Edom, man. He's constantly killing us. He's constantly treating us like shit, right? We got to constantly beg this damn devil for a loan to try to, you know, pay for shit, you know? Go into these different apps and do these payday loans and, you know, payday advances and this and the third in order to make it, because this damn devil's raising the prices, right? Making the hell even worse, you know? We got to do everything that we can, right? Just to even survive. Not that we can even slightly get ahead. You got an Israelite that's getting ahead. He did some wicked shit to get there, you know? The average Israelite, bro, we got to do everything that we can to work 2-3 jobs in order just to survive, man. You know? And that's even going back 10 years. You know, in that time, before the whole scamdemic and everything started really dropping, you know? Now it's like it's damn near impossible, man. You know, you got to have 2-income household, or that if you got a one single income household, that person's got to have 2-3 jobs, man. You know, just to take care of the family. You know, just to put food on the table. Fucking Esau, man. Why would you receive any judgment when you ain't never gave any? You ain't never gave no damn fucking mercy. Why are you gonna receive any? No, You're not going to receive any fucking mercy, man. The 1,000 years that you're in captivity, oh, man. Man, you got it coming, man. You damn devils got it fucking coming, man. Right? It's going to be so bad for y'all. Man, y'all can't even, in here in Arizona, man, it's only 120 degrees max. It wasn't 120 this year. I think it got like 117, 118 max, but even then, that's still fucking hot. A lot of these Edomites can't handle that shit. They can't even handle 100 degrees. Hey, well, imagine, my bros are gonna have the power to have a one spotlight ray beam of light on you, damn devils, man. Wherever you go, it's gonna follow you. And that one ray is going to be a fucking 1,000 degrees. And we're going to slow down the deterioration of your freaking cells and make it to where you're freaking burning all day, every day. It's going to be like prison, like you do with Jake. They 23 hours a day, they got to be in a fucking box. You know? And they only get 1 hour to come outside and walk around in a cage like an animal. Like the fucking zoo, man. Hey, well, you damn devils are going to be working 23 hours a day. You're going to get 1 hour to sleep, and you better be rested, fully rested, joyous, and everything in that 1 hour. And you're going to do this shit all over again. That's what's coming to you damn devils, man. It's going to be far worse than you treating Jake here, you know? And bros be getting, I remember Elder Apostle Rimloff, he made a statement earlier. He was like, yeah, you know, it's the food and everything like that, just the living environment is going to be great, right, for everybody, right, including the heathens, man. But see, we're going to make it so unbearable for you, right, because you're not going to eat no GMO food. We're not going to do that shit to you. That destroys the earth. That's a sin, right? That's going against the scriptures, man. We're supposed to, land Sabbath, supposed to leave some fruit and whatnot on the vine for the poor and what. Hey, we're going to fulfill all the scriptures, man. All the scriptures, every ounce, right? Except for, obviously, we're not going to be doing any sacrifices, right? Yahushua, he was that ultimate sacrifice, and he did away with, the laws of sacrifice, right? We're not going to be committing any sacrifices in the kingdom, but nonetheless, the rest of the laws we're going to be keeping, man. Perfectly. Not to the best of our ability like we do in this time, but perfectly, man. So we're not going to be, there's not going to be no GMO food. There's not going to be no shit being sprayed in the air, no chemicals in the air. Everything, the earth is going to go back to that Garden of Eden like state it's supposed to be in the first place. And yes, you damn devils are going to be eating good food. You damn devils are going to be breathing good air, right? But I mean, that pisses us off that you're going to have that, but that's just ultimately the way the Lord ultimately set it up. Hey, but your punishment is going to be far greater than any punishment any nation has ever received. As we're reading right now, man. You ain't gonna get no fucking mercy, man. None. You ain't gonna get no mercy, And I want to grab this, man. We'll start to close out. I had a precept on my mind, man. You damn devils have got it. You got it coming, man. You got it coming. Oh, yeah, Psalms. Psalms, the 52nd chapter, man. And we'll read the whole chapter. It's short. It's only 9 verses. But this is Psalm 52, verse 1. It says, to the chief musician, Mashil, a psalm of David, when Doeg the Edomite came and told Saul, and said unto him, David is come to thy house of Ahimelech. Why boastest thou thyself in mischief, O mighty man? The goodness of the Most High endureth continually. It says, thy tongue deviseth mischiefs, and he's speaking about an Edomite, right? Thy tongue deviseth mischiefs like a sharp razor working deceitfully, right? Going back to Esau being deceitful, man, right? Thou lovest evil more than good, and lying rather than to speak righteousness, Salah. Thou lovest all devouring words, O thou deceitful tongue. The Most High shall likewise destroy thee forever. He shall take thee away and pluck thee out of thy dwelling place, and root thee out of the land of the living, Salah. So Esau, you're going to be rooted out of the land of the living, man, as a nation. Now, what the Lord ultimately, has planned for, your spirits, whether they're going to be, we'll find that out in the kingdom, man. We don't know, what the Lord is ultimately going to do, man. But, we know that as a nation, right, Esau is going to be done away with, man. It's going to go from 18 nations to 17 nations after that 1,000-year period of Esau being in slavery, right? Verse 6, it says, the righteous also shall see and fear and shall laugh at him. Lo, This is the man that made not the Most High his strength, but trusted in the abundance of his riches and strengthened himself in his wickedness. But I am like a green olive tree in the house of the Most High. I trust in the mercy of the Most High forever and ever. I will praise thee forever, because thou hast done it, and I will wait on thy name, for it is good before thy saints. That's right, man. You know, so the Lord is ultimately going to protect the elect of the nation of Israel, and eventually all Israel, right, is going to come into righteousness, right, and live forever and be on top forever, man. You know, Esau, you're going to be, you know, a slave for 1,000 years after you get taken out of power, and then you're going to be what? Eradicated, man, from existence. And the rest of the heathens are going to go back and be tributary unto the Israelites forever. Right? They're going to go back into their own land, right? And they're going to be tributary unto the nation of Israel forever, man. You know? And that's what the game plan is, man. That's the end goal, man. You know? And the Israelites are going to live forever, and we're going to enjoy forever that which the Lord created, man. As you read in Isaiah the 65th chapter. You know? That's what's coming, man. You know? And man, call law Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. We're seeing it start to take place, man. This damn devil's going to be brought down. You know, that's all I got, man. Lord will, you know, it was edifying. Lord will, straight to the point. I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachak, Wadash, double honors to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the great millstone, who were very well, very beautifully. Till next time, we say shalom.